Good afternoon, and welcome to, not sure what part this is, of the FADA 115 radio. I got back on the project. A tube I got for a little over $5 on eBay, counting the shipping, on 45Z5. So I put it in and I put a cord on it, and I did some other things, and I'll show you. But the radio is not very sensitive. It went one station. It's all the way up. It's got an external speaker on it here. I tuned the IFs, the tuning condenser. So that's what you get out of it. All right, we'll turn this down. I put the pilot light was blown. I put another pilot light in. Also, the wire that was here for the pilot light was frayed, and it was shorting against the speaker frame here. So I had to put in some more wire. So I had some old black stranded wire, because the original wire was solid, but it was frayed and it was shorting out, and it was making my dim bulb come on bright. So I had to rewire that, and I put the bulb in. This thing, I tell you, it's terrible. But that's what they say, leave it alone, so I will. I'll put it back in. It's got these little snaps, little plastic things that just push in here, in these holes. And I think it's just paper. You can see where it's burnt with a 47 bulb that was in there. I tried an LED, and sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. The speaker is very noisy, and it's intermittent because the voice coil is unraveled. So sometimes you'll hear a little out of here and it sounds horrible. Let's turn this all the way up. Of course, I'm in the shop, and it's AM, and you know, you're not going to get anything much in here. Speaker's working. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. So we know it reads open in the ohm meter. But pretty dead. And I looked with my lighted microscope eye lope, and I don't see any plates touching. So I have no idea why. So I did the best I can. I don't know, it's not very good. Only 2 stations. I get better on a pocket transistor radio than I get on this, so it's not a performer, I'll tell you that much. And all the tubes I tested, and I even replaced, I think it's a 12SQ7, I'm not sure. There's a new one there, new old stock that's sitting right down there near the speaker. Not sure, I think that's a 12SQ7. That was a good one, tested really high, so I put that in, and that didn't make any difference. So I'm going to show you underneath the radio, but I'm going to turn it off. Alright, I don't know how to make a, what they call a Western Union knot. I tried, but it didn't work out too good. I don't have any grommets, so I had to do it the ugly old goat way. Just wrap some tape around it. Because the hole, although isn't sharp, doesn't have sharp edges, I felt better if I put some tape around there. So, I mean, it's the best I can do. And I had a hell of a job getting these wires to get in there, as I had to do a lot of tack soldering, as I just could not see what I'm doing. There's not much to this radio, so the IF cans tune, and they're peaked out. I can't do anything more. This is the best I can get out of it. So it's more, this type of radio is more of a, the cabinet, collectible with a cabinet. Now I still got to put the antenna back on. Capacitor here, which I got to change, which goes to chassis. And always off camera. To the loop antenna. I just pulled the wires off. It goes to right here where I pointed out before, this piece of lead from the old capacitor. So once this is on the back, then I can connect that up properly. So I will do that and come back. Here there are 2 wires, and I assume that's for external antenna. So I think this particular radio is like that TRF radio that I worked on for Bob. It needs a long antenna. I guess it just, well, it's a 30, it's 39 to 41. It's in that area. So I guess those kind of radios, this is my opinion anyways, and my opinion is like bungholes. Everybody has one. Is that they need long wire antennas in order to get anything on the, you know, pick up anything. So it's not a performer. I've had 5-tube radios when I was a kid that pick up stations like crazy. Little Emersons and, you know, they're a ball of fire, but this thing isn't. So, and there isn't anything else that it can be. I mean, the oscillator coil wasn't any good. It wouldn't work at all. I changed every resistor in here was bad with the exception of 2. One up here and one down here, the cathode resistors. They were like within 20%, I left them. So I had to change the resistors because the, you know, it wouldn't have worked at all. The switch, like Brandon said, use the fact that you're using AC on this will clean the contacts. And he sent me an email a few days ago describing what happens with ignition points. And yes, your material gets transferred from one point to the other. And that happens with DC switches and points condenser, you know, remember in the old cars, they get pitted on one side and then there's a lump on the other side and it fits into the pit. The metal gets transferred. Whereas an AC, it don't do that. So the AC cleans these. So that is a good piece of information there. Anyways, I'm going to put this coil back on here, and we'll get back to you in a minute. We'll try the radio once I change that capacitor out. Wire was just a little too short. I had to add a little on this, and that was a little better so it doesn't flex, break off. I got the capacitor in here. You might be able to see that a little better there. It's a 0.01, that's what the call's for, and that's what was in there originally. So we're going to flip this on now, and I snap this back into place. I got a 47 pilot light in there, which is what was in there. So we're going to turn it on now. And we got a high surge, and that pilot light, that dim bulb come on very light, very bright, and then went down. So I don't know what that's about. But there's the pilot light. There's the 47 in there. You can see it. All right, we got the volume all the way up. We'll see if we get... I can't see any shorts in there. I have no idea what it is. It could be some... well, I didn't do any drilling, but it could be metal filings in there for all I know. And I oiled the bearings and everything. Okay, we're getting a little more out of it. This speaker is giving distortion because this is... Okay, now there's nothing coming through it. Okay. Turn this all the way out. Yeah, this radio needs a long wire antenna. Yep, there's no doubt about that. That needs a long wire. That's why it's... Let's see what we get here. Yeah. Yeah, it's dead. Thing is dead. Needs a lot. When you can get stations touching this antenna coil, this is the oscillator. You need a long wire antenna on it. Volume's all the way up on this. So let's see. Let's see if we can crank this down here a little. Nope. Don't make any difference. All right, we go back to... It sounded like a New York station we had in there. We'll find out. See if I can get a station ID here. New York. Jericho Turnpike, New York City. Kind of a slug of a radio, I would say. But you know, I'm just going to put this, I'm going to try to sell it. It's the collectible part of it is the cabinet. So I'm going to just put it in the cabinet because the speaker needs to be reconed. Nobody's going to be able to use this without reconing it. See? Nothing. You can hear a little bit. The voice coil's unraveled. You may not be able to see it with this camera. I got the play touch, but so
audio equipment, B&H has it all in a whole range of prices for every budget.
It's New York City, all right. You definitely need an outside antenna on this. You can hear it right here. But it don't sound very clear anyway, so I don't know. Okay. I think this radio will perform good with a long wire.
The bulk of the complaints have been civilian Ford Explorers that kind of you and I...
You know, the distortion could be, we got this voice coil in parallel. It's rubbing against the post. And which in turn is connected to the chassis by way of bolting down here. So you're actually grounding out some of your voice coil. So if I was to disconnect this speaker, I think that it would be a lot clearer coming through here. But I don't want to do that because I want to just put this in the cabinet and let whoever gets it recone the speaker and fix this part here. Pretty dead. Pretty dead. Not a very sensitive radio at all. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it in the case. Put the one knob on that I've got. That's all I have. It's missing one red knob. And just, try to sell it. With my luck, I'll probably get $50 for it if I... And then whoever buys it, my luck, will probably get $600 for it. That's the way my luck runs. That's the luck of the old 64 goat. All right, so enough of that. It's not a very good restoration. Let me shut this off here. It's not a very good restoration on my part. But you got to remember, every resistor in this, except for two, are 100% or more out of whack. Every capacitor was no good. The only thing I did not change is there was a mic or two in here. And they don't say this is a good capacity. This resistor is good. Mica right here. Those don't go bad, really. I'm not going to get into it, and I'll tell you why. Speaker has to be reconed, and as I mentioned before, it's beyond me to do that. The only way I could do it is to just literally take out the whole speaker structure and put in a more modern permanent magnet speaker in here, put a resistor in place of the field coil, you know, and that's major modification. When you're getting the radio going and you're replacing capacitors and resistors, you're restoring the radio to working order. And that is perfectly okay in my book. I don't care what anybody says. But changing out the speaker from a field coil to a permanent magnet speaker on a radio such as this, which is a collectible, you are taking the value away from the radio. Again, my opinion. I'm not going to deal with the tuning capacitor. I looked with my little precision eyelope, this thing here, and I could not see any plates touching, nothing bent. I sprayed it with some CRC cleaner several times. I blew it out with the air thing, and somehow there's something in there, but I cannot see what it is. This is the problem. I just can't see what I'm doing, and that's why a lot of these type of connections are done, because the right way to do it is to replace the whole wire, and they use solid wire, which is the worst thing you can use. I replace it with stranded. Here I just had a little piece of solid, so I put it in there. But normally you'd replace the wire all the way through. But it's so damn hard to get in there amongst all this stuff in here trying to do that. I'm on macro now. So it's just too difficult for me to get in. It took me about a half an hour just to put this resistor in. And I didn't record it because you wouldn't want to hear the audio. Anyways, this resistor went up, as I said, from 20,000. This is a 22,000 in here, or something like that. It went up almost double, 38,000 as I recall. And even though I'm using hook and pinch, I had an awful hard time with it. And getting it into the 2 pins, like I said, a lot of them are very easy. You just pull them right out, they come out. But it wasn't that way on the antenna loop. I got the switch hooked up. I wasn't happy with my work on the wire power cord, but I looked on YouTube as how to do a, I don't know, a Western Union, I don't know, knot or whatever. And I even drew a diagram trying to do it from the video. When I watched the video 3 or 4 times, it just didn't look right. I've never done it that way. I just tie just crisscross them and tie once, or I usually use tape and little wire ties. And I tape it around, and then I put a little wire tie in there and pull it real tight and snip it off. And I've done that quite a bit. But this cord is extra long. This cord's about 7 feet long. And so if somebody don't like it, they can cut it out. There's plenty of room. And redo it. Somebody with excellent eyesight. So that's the best. I'm going to just put it back in. That's the best I can do. I'm not really proud of my work. But when you're a blind tinkerer, I'm damn lucky I can do anything. So that's it. And this is new wire here. The wire that I had in there was here, this type. And the cloth, not on this piece, but on this one, I think. Well, there was a piece that was bare. There was this brownish one and a black one twisted together, and it went around to the frame, around the frame, and it was rubbing on the frame and back of the 50L6. So I made it a little longer, and the wire looks like it would be original to the radio, and it's 18 gauge stranded, 18 or 20. Alright, I'm going to put this in the case. Alright, I got it back in the case after about a half an hour trying to find standard 1/4 inch chassis bolts, because it didn't have any when I got it at the yard sale. So I got a Mickey Mouse arrangement here. I don't have any of this stuff. I got rid of all my damn hardware from junked radios and televisions that I scrapped years ago. So it's a Mickey Mouse, like everything else I do. Well, it's in here with the one knob, because that's all I've got here. We're going to plug it in. We're going to get this out of the way. We're going to plug it in, give it one last try. You're not going to hear anything unless the speaker comes back to life, and it sounds crappy anyway. So I think we're going to just end it, you know, and let somebody else deal with it, because they got to get the dial fixed. You got to get a plastic for the dial, because like I say, the guy removed it, couldn't see through it. And we got to find another one of these knobs just for curiosity. I tried finding one on eBay, but I don't have good luck on the internet anyways, trying to locate anything. So all you see is the whole radio for $1,500, but you don't see knobs. Alright, she's on, the volume's all the way up, but the speaker is blown, so you're not going to hear anything out of it. It does come on once in a while, but it is the voice coil. It's unraveled, as I said. And I don't have the right screws, so it's sitting lopsided here. That's the best I can do, you know, with the materials that I have. Whoever does buy it, they got to find themselves a knob, get somebody to recone the speaker, or if they want to exchange and put in a permanent magnet speaker in here, that would be the easiest solution. The dial light came on now. After it warms up, the 47 lights up pretty nice in here, and it looks pretty neat, and it'll probably look very nice at, you know, at night. Anyways, that's it. The switch works. Works good. You can see the dial light. Turn it on. Turn it off. One more time, turn on. Okay. So the switch is very good. It's working. So I don't have to replace that. I'll turn it off, and that's the end of that. And that's the end of the series. That's all I can do. If I knew how to recone the speaker, maybe I could go more with this, but I can't deal with the tuning capacitor. I don't know what's wrong with it, but something's scraping. And the radio isn't very sensitive. You're going to need a long wire antenna on this, and that is why they have these two wires. I think one might be a ground, and that's probably what that 0.01 capacitor is for. So, you know, you're not grounding the chassis. The chassis now, with a polarized plug-in cord, the neutral is bonded uninterrupted to the chassis. And the chassis is also B-, so it's one of these electrocution radios if you don't run it to an isolation transformer or put a polarized cord on it and plug, and make sure you switch to hot, not to neutral. Thanks for watching. Appreciate everybody watching. And that's the end of this series.